We have guests in the studio this morning. Before we welcome them and introduce them, one is the Mheshimiwa and the other one is a president. So before we welcome the both, one is an excellency, the other one is an honorable. Siti Muga has the day's proverb.
We are still in the country of Equatorial Guinea.
Uh-huh.
The bush in which you hide has eyes.
The bush in which you hide has eyes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And those eyes can see.
Yes, they can.
And you think you're hiding.
So you imagine, because you have a covering.
Because you have some covering.
In the bush.
Yes.
Yes.
You think you're safe.
What you've done is you've walked straight into some seeing eyes.
What? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So let me introduce the guests. All protocols observed. I'll start with the president.
Yes.
The president of the Kenya Dental Association, Dr. Tim Theuri, is here with us this morning. Good morning, Daktari.
Good morning.
Good to have you again on the show.
Asante sana.
And the member of the County Assembly representing the good people of Kileleshwa Ward, Robert ALAI, is also here. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you so much.
The hot seat of the conversation. Now, let's start with you, Robert. That proverb from Equatorial Guinea. What's your interpretation of it?
I think whatever you do wrong or whatever you do good, just always be aware that somebody's watching. Like they always say, the walls have ears.
There's nothing that you can hide.
Nothing.
It will always be known.
Yes.
Same thing for you, Daktari?
I think it has something to do with character. That whoever you are is who you should be, whether you're being seen or not. Try to remain a good person or a good human being. Yeah.
Be true to yourself.
True.
In darkness or in light.
Yes.
Okay.
Where does City get these proverbs?
He's shunning them, and there's a whole book there of proverbs. And they're not typed. They are
not
handwritten. He has written them himself and he has analyzed them.
He now then transfers it, he scribbles them onto his Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra with an S Pen.
Wow.
That tablet does wonderful things for you. Whatever I scribble, Daktari, the thing you mentioned, the tab does that. It now becomes type, meaning the font, everything about the scribble simply becomes, should we say, typed.
That thing.
The scribble,
Yes.
inabadilishwa. It's like magic.
Inakuwa typed.
Inakuwa typed.
So, Robert, the last time you were here, we were talking about the noise around Nairobi.
Yes.
And we've seen some progress in terms of combating the noise around Nairobi. I think, yes, the governor has taken a lot of effort in dealing with this.
Yes, the governor has taken a lot of effort, and also Kenyans have taken a lot of effort in dealing with it. It has moved beyond Nairobi. Now you hear people in Mombasa talking about it, Kisumu, and that's what we wanted. We didn't want any one person owning the initiative. We just wanted Kenyans to realize that they have a problem. You know, they're getting a lot of problems listening to too much noise. It's affecting their health. And so it's good. And I think the next conversation is that, can we have quiet zones? Can we make residential areas quiet zones? Can we make areas around schools and hospitals quiet zones? Can we stop hooting? It is not only the noise from the bars and restaurants. It's also from whatever we do during the day. If you are going to pick up passengers from residential areas, somebody is hosting their sick mother in the estate. So can we have areas where you can't hoot? I've seen that in Tanzania, where you can't hoot in some areas, especially residential areas and near schools. So imagine a school like Kisumu Boys, just right
Bang in the middle of town.
And the hooting
Actually,
around
next to the bus park.
Yes.
How exactly do you think you're going to avoid the hooting?
We have a similar school in Nairobi. What's the name of that school?
Basilica. The one at Holy Family Basilica?
No. There's
The one in the middle of town.
the one in the down
Khalsa.
Muslim girls.
Khalsa.
Oh,
Yes,
Khalsa,
near,
yeah.
near bus station.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's bang in the middle of the noisiest part of Kenya that you can think of.
Yeah. And I think they have been forced to build a wall which almost gets to heaven. I think, yeah. So that's I think that's a conversation we are having.
Okay.
And I hope that it moves. I've seen a lot of bars and restaurants have taken a flag, but a good number have also complied. Walking into Edu's bar, walking, because we still go to these places. But when you walk, you hear the music at the right volume, and you just want to sit and have a quiet, relaxed one.
Things have happened.
So this thing where the DJ is too happy to be spinning, then the volume goes up as the night.
That has changed.
Yes, no.
You've also moved on to something else.
Yes.
Recently, you posted on social media about borehole water in Nairobi.
Yes.
So you're talking about reduced consumption of borehole water in Nairobi. Filter the water if you must, but be careful with it. It's hurting future generations. The level of fluoride in the water is going to hinder proper bone and mental development for our kids. Where do you get this from?
I think I got it from my doctors, and the doctor here can explain it to us. But when you have kids and you start getting aware that they're having a problem with their teeth at a very young age, then you ask, what is it? At the dental fluorosis. Then you ask, how is it coming about? Say the food you eat, the water you use, and say, how does the food come into this? They say the food is grown with water, maybe from a borehole, and the water is not properly filtered, so the water is not pure, and the water has some minerals. So it might be sodium, salt, or it might be fluoride. But if you go to areas like Kakamega, you even have mercury in the water. So it's a bit dangerous. So my challenge has been the awareness we have been trying to create. And this I got also from the people working at the Nairobi Water, and some lawyers at the legal department at the Nairobi City County. And they told me they have really complained that the borehole is not the solution. In Nairobi Water, station like Warma is not having the proper enforcement capacity, because they're supposed to be responsible of that. So that's the challenge we're having. I talked with the managing director of Nairobi Water, who also we oversight as the only investment of the Nairobi County, that what can they do? Can they force people to filter? They say this is not within their mandate to enforce people with their own private.
So
boreholes.
they are not in charge of
Private
boreholes.
Yes.
So boreholes are within the mandate of
Warma,
the Water Resource Authority.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the Daktari. Doc, from where you sit as a dental surgeon and your colleagues, is it true what ALAI is saying, that you've noticed a trend with regards to water and fluoride in the water?
I think what we've picked up is, I think over the last 10 years, we're getting increasing number of children who we are seeing with dental fluorosis, which was very unusual for the Nairobi city and, dare I say, the metropolis, Nairobi and its environs. Fluorosis has been typically endemic in areas like Naivasha, Nakuru, Baringo, Mombasa, areas of the coast, some areas in the coastal region, but very little cases within Nairobi, because typically we've had the privilege of getting a good potable water. But over the last 10 years, we are seeing children with dental fluorosis coming in more and more. And the only logical explanation, though not much study has been done around this, is that the water that they are accessing has not been good quality water. And by that I mean there are certain elements or trace elements that are beyond what is recommended as your daily as a daily allowable amounts. What this means is that if you are to infer, you see people when they're moving into houses, one of the things they look for is backup water. And once they see this borehole water, they're very happy. Yet we're not asking ourselves, this water that we are consuming, what kind of water is it? What is responsible for dental fluorosis is definitely fluoride in water, more than what is recommended. So you're finding in some areas, we found there's a borehole that was tested and it had about 2,700 parts per million against the recommended 1. There's some areas where 1.5 is still allowable. 1 to 1.5 parts
1.5
per million.
And you found 2,700.
I'll read you a list.
Okay.
So this is a company that sells filters, yeah. And before installing the filters, they test the kind of water that is there. So in Edenville, that was 3.19. So remember the reference figure is 1.5 milligrams per liter or parts per million. Yeah. Nyayo Estate, that was 3.76. Musagitao 0.19, acceptable, that passed. The Nigua 0.24, Kitusuru 13.19, and this is water that is coming from the kitchen sink. So the disclaimer would be it could either be mixed water, that is Nairobi County water together with borehole water, or borehole water, or it could be Nairobi County water, we don't know. But this is water that is coming from the kitchen sink. The reason this is important is fluoride affects you through water you drink and cook with. Edenville had said there's another house that had 3.2, Four-Way 7.6, Kitengela 2.39, an area around Timol, tap water had about 5.27, Langata 6.86, Lavington, there's a house that had 7.26, South Sea 7.47. So if you were to look at this figure, and Karen 11.4. So if you were to look at these figures, it's telling us a trend. The places that passed are less than 5 on a list of about 30. So the access to good quality water is not there.
Okay. We don't know the source of the water that they were testing.
Yes.
It could have been
Borehole water.
borehole water. It could have been water from the Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company. It could have been water that has been brought in via a bowser and whose source we don't know. But the point is that it is actually coming out of a tap in a house.
Yeah.
That means it's being consumed to wash utensils, for cooking, and the rest. All right. It's a big issue. So I've got to ask then the first question, Robert, is the city county government has been involved in drilling boreholes in the city.
Yeah.
The NMS drilled several boreholes in the city in the last 2 years. What has been the procedure of A, identifying the area of drilling the borehole, and 2, treating of the water before serving it to people for consumption?
NMS, NMS is a whole issue. As somebody who sits in the Public Accounts Committee of the Nairobi County, NMS is a whole kind of mess.
Is any mess?
Is a mess which I don't think that we'll even finish talking about. But I don't think that with the kind of mess I've seen at NMS, I don't think there's any way they were going to wait to be patient enough to do the filtering or to treat the water they were drilling. I think it was a very haphazard kind of work. I had a very long conversation with the Nairobi Water MD, and this was when I was trying to get to understand why the supply is not enough. Then I got the other issues, and I just tried to ask about the issues of unclean water we are consuming in our homes. And they say that the water being drilled in Nairobi is not properly filtered. And the filtering is because there's no proper enforcement of what kind of water is allowed to be served to our families. So the thing is that like the doctor says, we don't lack studies. If you go to the UON site there, just search Nairobi boreholes, you'll have more than 10, 20 studies by professors.
At the University of
Nairobi.
Nairobi.
The University of Nairobi website, the repository there is full of them. You'll see they have studied up to Kakamega, Kisumu. They tell you if you go to my area, my shags around Aero, there's too much sodium. If you go to Kakamega, there is potassium and mercury. It's now the metals, the hard metals. And if you come to Nairobi, then they have the problem of fluoride. There's too much studies on this, and this is where I'm getting impressed. Just the issues around water have told me that our universities are doing a lot of work, but are they integrating with the industry? Are we consuming what they're studying, the research they're producing out there? Because some countries will take them seriously, but I think we're not taking them seriously, and it's affecting us. It's affecting the next generation. So yesterday, my kids had a visit. They visited the dentist, and they say that some of them have these problems, and it's going to affect their. I hope the dentist will correct me. It's even affecting their mental health. The fluoride you consume, and it not only affecting their bones but also their brain. And that is a very big worry to me. That what are we doing to our kids? The only thing we need is that and I wish that the president took it up, because we have a new president, and ensured that we have proper supply for all the cities in Kenya, that we don't solely or close to 50%, I think now, we are around 48% depending on boreholes. If we can make sure that the supply is enough by completing the water supply infrastructure and also upgrading, because we can complete the supply to Nairobi, but if the internal network of the water system is as old as 1993, where it was supposed to serve, it is not going to reach every household. So that is a very big worry also to us, that we have to complete that and ensure that it's properly delivered. But I wish also KEBS and Warma got into this and demanded that people install filters. Yeah, I know that the commercial water systems companies are going to enjoy so much, but I think it's a shortcut to saving the families.
Yeah, oftentimes we look, and I think this is a classic case of where we're saying lack of policy implementation or even lack of policy understanding then meets, the direct effect that it has on humans. And so maybe it's interesting, or rather necessary, for us to understand, Dr. Theory, what are we talking about in terms of impacts? Just from the little understanding that we have, for somebody who is already in their adult stages, if we're looking at teeth and the effect that it would have, maybe it would be late in the game if you're starting to consume. But for children, from babies, because we understand the teeth are already formed in babies, they just have not protruded. What effects are we looking at then? And we're talking about health problems now, because if we say lack of implementation or lack of understanding of policy and then implementation of the same, and how it would affect human lives now, what effects are we looking at? High levels of fluoride in water, lack of treatment or filtration, what does it do?
I think I'll first start saying that I like what Robert is saying and the approach he's taken, yeah? And this is the first time I am sat next to someone I voted for. The effects affect many systems in the body, starting with teeth, the skeleton. We have neurological effects of excess fluoride in the body. We have hormonal effects where the parathyroid glands are affected. In some areas, data shows that skin problems also occur, and also some cardiovascular and reproductive system effects. I'll speak about dental fluorosis and its effects. This is where you'll find that during the developmental stages of the child, they are exposed to higher than normal or higher than recommended fluoride levels. And what happens is, as the tooth or as the teeth are being formed, they'll first start as having a lot of protein components or content, and this will take up the fluoride, and during mineralization, this is the hardening part or the hardening stage of the tooth doesn't harden to its optimum levels. So we have higher than normal protein content within the tooth. So once these teeth erupt, we have areas of hypomineralization. These are areas of spots where mineralization or hardening did not happen very well. So you'll find that these areas will absorb components of what we eat, and they will stain, and that is what you see as the the chalky white appearance on teeth, or the browning now when it's very, very severe. Now, what is the effect of this in a person's life? So, of course, we are used to white teeth. So there's the aspect of psychological issues, as Latif is saying. So you have esteem issues. You'll find children who are not able to answer questions in class. They are not confident. Worse if they are girls, you know what that does to them. Effects, the cost of treating this one on the families. Most of our families cannot afford this kind of healthcare, and they will not prioritize it, even if it's something that they could pay for. The other one would be the effects on the health system. We are still at a place where we have only about 1,400 registered dentists. Out of that, only about 800 were retained to practice this year. So we are dealing with fluorosis, we are dealing with cancer, we are dealing with the effects of non-communicable diseases, integrating this with general health. So the issues are many for us, and not to start dealing with this now at crazy numbers. Yeah, so those are the kinds of effects that you're looking at. To treat one tooth that has fluorosis, you're generally looking at a cost of about 8,000 or about 10,000, all the way to about 30,000 per tooth. All right, that's about $100 to about $300 per tooth, because what you need to do is cosmetically treat this tooth. Yeah, and it's. And the unfortunate thing is, even for third-party payers, that is the medical insurance underwriters, they consider this cosmetic treatment as opposed to necessary treatment. So they will run away from
They
paying
will not
for
cover
this.
it.
They will not cover this. So it's something that must be looked at from a multi-sectorial approach, where we have Nairobi Water involved, we have Warma, we have KEBS, we have the universities providing the data, the Department of Urban Planning must be involved, because we are seeing houses or residential apartments coming up left, right, and center. Yeah, and all these are digging.
Each
They're
of them is sinking a borehole.
boreholes. And tied to that, again, I will also say even the roads department needs to be involved, because what I see in where we live, they will come, run their trucks on the roads, and these trucks they are loaded, they are beyond the capacity of these roads. So it has to have a very multi-sectorial approach for it to work very well. But from where we stand, that's how we look at it. The aspects of fluoride that are also good, that is topical fluoride. You'll find that in toothpaste, it has about 800 to about 1,450 parts per million. But this is topical fluoride that is within the mouth. This helps in remineralizing the tooth. So for people who have been exposed to dental caries, fluoride is important for them, because it remineralizes the tooth, and it also will inhibit the bacteria that are responsible for causing tooth decay. So fluoride is not bad its entirety. It's when it's ingested or consumed, first of all orally, and at higher than recommended levels.
Right.
Thank
Let's
you.
take a break. It is 28 minutes to 8. This is the Situation Room live on KTN News and SpiceFM and online. You're hearing. So the Dental Association is raising concern. Over the last 10 years, they've seen a sharp rise in children who are presenting to them with dental fluorosis, and they're asking themselves, what's happening? The MCA for Kileleshwa Ward in the Nairobi County Assembly is saying we have very many cases of very many boreholes that have been sunk. There is going into consumption without proper filtering. The Nairobi Water Company says that's not our baby. It's the baby of the Water Resources Authority. So what do we do? That's a conversation that we're having.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
MCA from Kileleshwa Ward, Robert ALAI, and Dr. Tim Theory, President of the Kenya Dental Association, here with us. We're talking about the dangers of consuming untreated water in Nairobi, particularly. Very many boreholes sunk in the city, Robert.
Yes.
And yes, you say that you do not oversight. You oversight the company that you own as the county government of Nairobi. This is the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. But then there's the Water Resources Authority that is in charge of all the water facilities or water sources, right?
Yeah.
So when people go to sink boreholes, they need to get authority from the Water Resources Authority.
They need
to get permits.
Yes, they need to get permits, and also after sinking the water, the ball needs to be inspected.
It needs to be inspected.
It's not done pre, it's not done post. Yes.
And the water coming out of the borehole.
Yes, and they need to check a lot of things, the turbidity, just trying to see from the Water Resource Authority itself. They are saying they need to check on the clarity of the water. They need to check on the samples taken from the water. What does it have? What kind of minerals do you have inside there? Is it safe for human beings or not? How do you reverse it? The effect it can have on human beings and all these,
Who's they?
The Resource Authority. Water Resource Authority.
The Water Resource
Water
Authority.
Resource Authority
Yes.
is tasked with the responsibility of making sure that these things happen.
Is there. The water is safe.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, in the event that doesn't happen,
Yes.
what recourse then, from a county perspective, what recourse then ought to be taken? I ask this because we now have doctors, dentists, who are advising clients to put in a filtration system when they're presenting with fluorosis, because you know that this situation is so terrible. What you can then tell your patient at that point is to put in a filtration system, but we're not dealing with the problem.
Yeah.
We're not.
Yes. I don't know. We need to get also the data on the households which are consuming this kind of water, the number of households, and also you quantify the amount of money they're going to spend. The systems go from around 25,000 to 40,000.
Yep.
For that's a simpler one for the.
And that's the installation cost.
Yes, the installation cost.
There's going to be the
Yes. So it's
the filters. You have to change the filters every so often.
You find that the cost of installing the filters is almost or more than the amount you'd use to finish the supply to Nairobi. You know what worries me as a political leader in this country is that we can build an oil pipeline from Mombasa to South Sudan, but you cannot just build a simple water supply system from whatever dam to the cities.
Actually, we can.
It is the cheapest thing we can ever do.
Is it for lack of ability or lack of, the desire?
No, we
priority.
We plan whatever we do, whatever these governments we have 48 governments now. These governments which come to power after every 5 years, whatever they do is that they plan on what to implement to be used today. Nobody thinks of 50 years. Nobody thinks of 30 years. Nobody has a long-term plan for this country. That's why you see every new estate we start turns into a slum.
Yep.
Because nobody thinks of the public utilities. Nobody thinks of the schools. That's why you find that all the good seats, the good schools are located western side of Uhuru Highway. Nobody thinks of this future of this country. So I think we need to be very much aware that if we don't do it now, we are not punishing anybody but ourselves. If we don't do it now, the kids we are thinking that we are living safely at home, they will be affected and most of them will not grow. Have you ever seen a Kenyan living Kenya and then going to these well-planned cities and you see suddenly their life looks to be better without even a good job. Their life,
the quality of life.
The quality of life.
They even become lighter.
Yeah, they become lighter. You see, they are healthier because of you have the police ready, you have the schools working, you have the water systems working, the public utilities, there are a playground, there's a sports ground, there's a place you can walk if you are so tired. But
it's okay, Robert. Now
Yes.
you're in that position of authority.
yeah,
What is
the most junior one?
what is the place? No, it's the most influential one.
Not the most junior one.
Yes.
What is the place of the County Assembly of Nairobi
Yes.
in making sure that the people of Nairobi are consuming potable water?
This is what we are going to stress for a very long time. I wish they made me the chairman of that committee of water. The only thing is that
You can't be chairman of everything. But
no, I didn't want to be chairman of everything. I only wanted to be chairman of either water or health. Either we sought health or we sought water. But the problem is that some of the democracy in these county assemblies and parliaments is a story for another day.
So what are you chairman of now?
I'm not chairman of anything. I'm vice chairman of ICT.
okay.
But vice chairman, you'd rather be a member than a vice chairman because there's nothing else you can do there. But what we'll do is that we'll make Nairobians aware. The good thing is that, with the media, sometimes awareness makes them act. When we saw the president picked up the issue of our noise, we didn't know it would get to that level. And he got in and said that the families are protected. That's the first step, creating that awareness, even when they do nothing beyond that. But people at least have been aware that, hey, you guys are consuming too much noise. Can we at least reduce the volume and make it better? But I hope now in the water, they get to ensure that we have supplies and clean water.
Sure.
If the WRA is going to ensure the cleanliness of the water we have in Nairobi, let them do that. In an area like, imagine you think the eastern side of Uruguay is the problem. Imagine Atheru Road. Atheru Road, you have how many apartments?
Where is Atheru Road?
Atheru Road in Lavington.
Yeah.
There's a place there which has been turned into a serious concrete slum. And it's back-to-back apartment. And everybody has drilled their own borehole. Then it's not enough. Then now they have to struggle with all these water bozers entering and leaving. It's chaos. And these water bozers, also you don't know where they get the water.
Okay, so you will push for everybody to know
Yes.
that there's an issue with the water that we are consuming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Once we get the awareness,
Then also the allocation. It also depends on the kind of revenue we get or the money we get from the exchequer. The allocation of Nairobi water needs to be increased so that they complete the Northern Collector Tunnel. Northern Collector Tunnel, the good thing is that it was a national government project, but Nairobi water needs to be pushed. That the good thing, the most beautiful thing we have at Nairobi water is that the engineer there, who is the MD, knows this city like the back of his hand.
Can I stop you there and just ask a question? Are we saying that because the problem here inherently is that there is an inadequate supply of water
Yes.
in the country?
Yes.
Properly treated water.
Yes.
That it is not enough.
No.
That's what's causing all of this.
Yeah.
People wouldn't need to dig boreholes or drill boreholes if there was an adequate supply of water.
Yes.
All right? So we're saying the problem here is that the tunnel has not been completed. Should the tunnel be completed, would we then see Bob's your uncle? There is now enough water getting into the different parts where it doesn't exist today.
Yes. But also the network, the internal network, has to be upgraded. But that is a smaller problem. If you can read it, because the internal water network in Nairobi, the metropolitan network, is a bit old. It's from the mid-90s to late 90s. It was supposed to be last used then.
Yeah.
So, but you imagine places like Kileleshwa, Kilimani, Lavington, people are building these apartments. And some of these apartments are actually built over sewer and water lines. Okay. The places you're supposed to be building, because the city was planned. That water was supposed to be passing here, sewer was supposed to be passing. Then somebody went and grabbed that place and they built on top of that. So we have to ensure also that when we are supplying the water, so that we don't have. Some areas have not seen water for a long time. So maybe the pipes
don't exist.
Yeah, the pipes don't exist. So what we are going to ensure that the internal network is properly upgraded.
But Mheshimiwa, you do know that we are discussing the symptoms, not the problem really. Because if there was a time in this country when you could rely on your tap water and all you need to do was turn on the tap and you could drink the water without thinking, it means this is something that has been done and we know it can be done.
Yes.
Does Kenya lack sufficient water supply? The answer is no.
No.
Is it possible for water to be supplied? The answer is yes. Is it possible for Warma to do their job? The answer again is yes. So why aren't they able to do their job now? You are a lawmaker. These buildings we keep talking about, who determines this zoning? Who decides that you are going to change? Instead of having 12 stories, you can now have 30.
40.
40.
But
Who decides this?
by the city, we have the best zoning laws. In Kileleshwa, Kilimani, where you see people building 20 floor apartments, the limit is 4 floors, 4 stories. But people are just going against the physical planning act because nobody is enforcing these things. And there are three options, like I told you the last time in Nairobi. There are three options for corruption. You take the money, you sign the documents, or you are shot dead in the street. You're given those options, and you're told,
Choose
the one which best fits you. And now you see, recently when I was working in Kileleshwa, and I asked myself why somebody was building such a tall building, almost 21 floors in our place. And I was told he's a senior minister. And I say, and he's supposed to be responsible for us not to have such, because he's actually in a docket which is supposed to be responsible. And I said, why is it happening? Why is it even allowed? Because then they say, Mheshimiwa, you just have to talk to us nicely. I said, no, it's not about me. I can take that shortcut and be comfortable. But do you think of what will happen here in 20 years? Now, today in Kileleshwa, you don't have even a piece of land to build an hospital. There is no public health hospital in Kileleshwa. You don't have a piece of land to have a chief's office. You have 2 sub-chiefs and a chief. You don't have such piece of land for public utility. You don't have a piece of land for you. I met 3 ladies.
Recreation facility.
Three ladies. One is 85 years old. This woman worked for Kenya in this country in the diplomatic service for 45 years old. And she says she doesn't know any other life apart from the cities. She has a very limited time to live in this world. She is not going to adjust to a new life in the village. And she has decided to retire in Nairobi. She can't even, the city is not friendly to her. She can't step outside her compound and just walk. And just walk with a walking stick and just come back to the house and sit down. It is very unfriendly to her. And we are not only affecting the younger kids, also we are affecting our senior citizens in this country.
Okay, so Robert, what do you propose to do?
I propose that...
You see, you are campaigning on all these things that you're repeating today.
Yes.
And you are campaigning being solution-oriented.
Yes.
So what's the solution?
My first solution is make you aware, because Warma is not within the mandate of the MCA. The other thing is that I'm going to work with my MP, and the good thing is that my MP, we sat with her down, Honorable Beatrice Elachi, and she understood all this, and she said that she's going to take it up with the National Parliament to ensure that these things are made aware and it's all reversed. I'm very happy that the President has appointed the Nairobi River Commissions, though the composition is a big challenge to some of us, but he has appointed that in his first 100 days. Meaning that he understands the problem of unclean water, because this Nairobi, the Nairobi River waters also get to our system, because some of them, the vegetables being grown around Nairobi, near some slums, get to people to consume them. We need to ensure that the water is clean. We need to ensure that people don't discharge the sewers into it. Nairobi water itself, we are going to make sure that there is enough allocation for it. And the governor, the good thing is the governor we have in Nairobi is a young person, and he's somebody who understands some of these things faster than if we had somebody who is not properly exposed. And when you informed him, they say that he needs to go through it, he needs to go through the studies and understand himself, then he'll act on it. I hope that when we come back, because we went on recess yesterday, when we come back in February, then we are going to ensure that we prioritize on the issues which affect our health, because some of them might take a lot of time, might take a lot of resources to reverse. And he's going to prioritize on that and ensure that we get proper clean water and healthier water in Nairobi when we come back. And I saw the appointment of the chief officers yesterday, and I think I'm impressed by what he has done, the kind of people he has put into those positions. I hope that when they get approved in the next 1 week, then it's going to for the change of the lives of Nairobians. Yeah.
And Daktari, what do you advise us to do? Because we are consuming water. So there is water that we consume from the taps, there's water that we are consuming from bowsers coming to homes, there's water that we are consuming from these water refilling companies, which have become a business. Every other shop, if it's not an M-Pesa shop, it's a water refilling shop.
I think 2 things that we must do. One is at policy level, and that has the political class in it, Robert included here. We must like ourselves a little more as Kenyans. and we must prioritize what will be an enabler for increased health expectancy. This is the number of years that you get to live as a healthy individual. And once we do that, I think we are going to see improved health indicators for sure, because what you see is for every problem that we have in the country, there's a private solution for it, which is not a bad thing, because that gap must be filled by someone. And if we have a working public sector, that is water supply. CT has said we have enough water. Can it get where it needs to get? The answer is yes. Is it getting to where it needs to get? The answer is no, because there's some form of profiteering that's happening around this. And I think if the president is as willing as he says he is, then we must start to see some of these things take effect. The cartels that are in the water sector and other sectors. For now, I think for us is to raise awareness as medical practitioners and as dentists that whatever is happening is wrong. And one of the reference points we have is the National Oral Health Survey that was done in 2015 that found over 40% of the children who were seen and reviewed then had fluorosis. Right now, there's a national oral health policy that was promulgated early in the year. I need about 1.2 billion to operationalize. I think that's money that we can find. And the moment this starts to happen, because of course it's a policy, it needs to be implemented in phases, then it will enable us get to somewhere that is good. One of the sites that Robert has quoted, that's in the University of Nairobi, Dr. Indusu et al. Correlates high fluoride content with reduced cognitive abilities. Some dental public health specialists on Riverside water defluoridation experts there, they are providing some of this data as they install in this unit. So if we can't get clean water, then we must enable Kenyans to get these filters. Unfortunately, that's how I'd look at it. And if that's the case, then we need to zero rate taxes on them.
Yep.
So that they can be afforded. They can be afforded. Kenyans can get them affordably. The other thing is to enable research around this topic, so that we have more data to work with, so that the decisions we are taking are data driven. At policy level, organizations like the one I work for, that's Kenya Dental Association, is more than willing to have a sit down with our members of county assemblies, our MPs, our governors, and even the president, so that we start these conversations at a point that makes sense. Because at this particular point, we may not have the data, but we have the knowledge, and I think that should be more than enough to take some of the decisions that we need to take. Yeah, and of course the multi-sectoral approach. It can be a siloed approach where the various people who are concerned are not talking to each other. And when that begins to happen, I can assure you, once the Northern Collector Tunnel is done, I think in 2-3 years, we should see improved access to water, to potable water, and Kenyans a bit happier, and that headache is removed, and you can live anywhere in the city. Okay. Because right now, one of the considerations that you need to make when you're moving around or you need to change houses is there water?
That's true.
Is it available? What kind of water is it? You hear this eco borehole, you're happy. You're moving. So we must start asking ourselves these questions. How much do we like ourselves? Because I'm happy the conversations that we're having, climate change and all those things. Good conversations, yes. But can we have such a conversation juxtaposed against access to very basic things? Yeah, that's a question I would ask.
You know, the Tanathi Water Board will finish the Northern Collector. They'll bring the water to Nairobi. If Nairobi Water does not have pipes to bring the water into the house, stories. Julia says, bang on a lie in Kilesho. My 5-year-old niece the other day asked, how come huku kwetu hakuna nyasi? It's become concrete.
Yes.